And then after a while, you go, okay, this is good, this is really good. But later on, when you go to do it, you're gonna have that same energy. This is good, I should do it. But if you learn in a dynamic way, you will do it when you leave here. And that's what we're gonna do. Who's willing to push yourself for a few hours here? Say, I want you to face a partner, do it one more time, outdo them. I own you! I own you! On 3, 1, outdo them with your energy. 1, 2, 3, go! You're amazing. So am I. Give a high five and grab a seat. Grab a seat, feeling great. Take a sip of water if you got it. Stay hydrated.
Muy cerca, estamos a 2 minutos, queremos que te quedes en el escenario. Nos encantaría que siendo host en México nos ayudes a recibir al personaje que viene. Personaje que ha hecho cuántas cosas.
Bueno, hemos dicho que uno siempre debe tener al menos un mentor en la vida, pero este es el mentor de los mentores, él es el coach de los coaches. Tony Robbins es una persona que ha influenciado o nos ha influenciado a través de muchas personas y a muchos de los que están aquí que son fans de Tony Robbins, así que una persona muy especial como estas personas que hemos tenido hoy, así que dense las gracias, no se les olvide, dense las gracias por lo que han hecho de estar acá.
Ricardo, hemos conversado y además escuché un podcast y tuvimos la oportunidad de estar en un live y hablamos un poquito de esa experiencia que tienes leyendo el libro de Tony Robbins. ¿Cuáles? Me encantaría que se los recomendaras y nos cuentes un poquito.
El libro se llama Unlimited Power, es uno de los libros más viejos de Tony, es del 87, seguro que nos va a decir, pero está mucho mejor verlo en persona, ¿no? Yo sé que es un gran speaker y un gran motivador, y son 3 horas muy bien invertidas.
Sí, porque creo que parte de lo que tiene Tony es que cambia mentes desde muchas perspectivas y te dan ganas de seguir, de seguir y de seguir. Así que, si estamos listos...
Me faltan unos...
I've always been fascinated by the force that shapes human beings.
You are a catalyst for getting other people to change the way they think about themselves. Over 3 decades, he's changed millions of lives as a peak performance coach and life strategist.
#1 best-selling author whose books and seminars have helped inspire more than 50 million people and transform their lives.
People around the world have attended one of his live events. It just shows you
people that some things in your life you think are difficult or impossible are actually easy if you put yourself in the right state of mind.
I look at the list of people that you've helped. Bill Clinton, Princess Diana, Mikhail Gorbachev, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, Quincy Jones.
What do all these people have in common with one another? They all were coached by Tony Robbins, who helped condition the mind, also think through how to get to places that are unimaginable. Forbes magazine just named him one of the 100 most influential, powerful people in global finance.
Forbes top 100 celebrity rank, the top 6 business leaders in the world. On and on and on.
Business is a spiritual game. You know, it's about how do you add more value, how do you do more for others than anybody else in the marketplace. That's how you do it. You're doing $6 billion in business.
Motivation as much as it is allowing people to tap into what's already there, like a catalyst.
Every person in this room who's achieved anything, we've had that home. But the question is, where's your home now?
When the athlete's melting down, in the middle of a sporting event, you've got to do something right now to turn them around.
Top marathon here, it's not just words, you know, there's action in there, there's structure in what he's saying. And it's just giving me more passion and more focus and more drive. Allows those people who want to continue to throw heads and climb.
Mr. Robbins inspired me a lot to just never lose my soul and always be myself. Because your human body can give out on you, but your soul is forever.
If you want to change your state, if you want to change your results, this is where you do it.
Taught me that life is happening for me, not to me. And that has been my guiding force through many challenges in my life. So when something horrible happens, and I take it and I turn it around, and everything changes.
I've been attending Tony Robbins seminars since I was 15 years old, and I really attribute a lot of my success to those techniques that I've learned when I was 15 years old.
What I love about Tony is he's found everything he loves to do, and that is helping people.
There's an unbelievable gift in life that comes when you can step outside of yourself, no matter what your problems are, and find a way to help somebody else who's got a more challenging time than yourself. People forget what a little bit of caring can do for, to inspire to somebody, and that's what I think changes people's lives. All change happens with children. Thank you. Have a seat. Have a seat. Thank you, guys. Wow. Well, first, let me thank Ricardo for the introduction, and Ricardo and Fernando for bringing me here. I've not been to Mexico City in 2 decades. Thank you for your warm welcome. Grab a seat if you would. So I'm curious. First of all, congratulations. I love this program called Fearless Minds. It's a perfect thing, because fearless doesn't mean you don't have any fear. How many have had fear that's kept you from taking action somewhere in your life? Or say, So the real key is the most successful people feel the fear but do it anyway. And if you keep doing that, you develop something called courage. Courage, as we all know, is not needed if you're not afraid. There is no courage without fear. And we're all afraid at times. So there's nothing to be embarrassed about if you're afraid you're doing something new you've never done before, or attempting something you've never really tried before. But the secret is to have that courage kick in and do it anyway. And after a while, you will fear less. That's what that fearless mind means. It doesn't mean you won't fear anything, because you can go, if you have no fear, you'd be dead. Fear can protect us as well. How many follow here? Say, So I'm curious, it's such a beautiful audience, 13,000 or I guess almost 14,000 of you, and you're from all over. I was just asking them, they were telling me we have Spain, Dubai, Argentina, Colombia, Bolivia, Panama, Ecuador, Peru, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico! So you have a lot of different people here from a lot of different parts of the world, and there are different people here. So I'm curious, because I'm gonna adopt what I'm doing based on what I find here. I don't just give a standard speech. There's certain fundamentals that are important to teach people. And you can change your life if you understand some of those fundamentals, and that's not an exaggeration or pump up. It's just if you know the right thing, you don't do it at the right time, you can get extraordinary results. But if you do the right thing at the wrong time, you get no reward. And so I'm going to be walking you through some patterns today. We won't just be talking, we'll be doing some exercises, giving you some tools and insights, so when you leave here, you can immediately apply those. But I'm curious why you're here. How many of you here own a business, own your own business? I'm curious. Wow, good chunk of you. How many of you are a manager or a leader within a business? You may not own it, but you're a manager leader. Awesome. How many of you are students? Any students out there? I understand there's quite a few students out there, yes. Welcome, thank you for coming. How many of you came here because you want to grow your business or grow your income as one of your goals? I'm curious. How many of you came here because you want to develop more passion, more intensity, more capability, more confidence? How many came for those reasons? How many came here because you want to transform your health, your vitality, your energy, your strength for your body? How many came here because you want to enhance your relationships and bring more passion to that? You greedy bastards, you want everything and give me 3 hours. What is this? But you know what's really neat? Normally, the shortest thing I do is 4 days. And the reason is not because I like talking. The reason is because when you go through day and night of something, it's like learning a language. If you want to learn Italian, and you really want to know, I could dump you in Italy for 90 days without any teacher, you'll speak Italian, because you're in immersion. And so what I like to do is condition people, not just train them like mentally, but train the body, the emotions, so it happens automatically. So we only have 3 hours, and it may sound like a lot to you, but I promise you it'll be full. But that's normally what I do 4 days. But I found a format here I think you're going to find really useful and really powerful. But I also feel excited just to be here, to be with so many people, and so many beautiful women from South America, ladies and gentlemen. Gentlemen, you got a name here, right? I was reading the Wall Street Journal the other day, and they said that women today in North America control 80% of the wealth in the country. 80%. How do you feel about that? The article also said they have easy access to the other 20%. So here's what we're going to do today. Let's start with the things you want. Anything you want that you don't currently have requires new strategies. Would you agree? In other words, if you do what you've been doing and you're not getting the result, obviously you have to make a change. And what we're going to study here are some patterns. Patterns, there are patterns that will make you angry, and patterns that will make you sad, and patterns that will make you worried. And if you do them enough, you think you're angry or you're sad or you're worried, but it's just a pattern. It's like software. But if you change the pattern, there are patterns that make you grateful, that make you excited, that make you passionate, make you driven. And when you know how to use patterns instead of patterns use you, you can literally change anything. But if for anything to work, think of it like software, it only works if there's enough electricity. In other words, how many of you have ever set a goal and said, I'm gonna go do this, and then your brain goes, who are you kidding? Who's had this experience before? Say, The reason, the number one thing we need, and I'm gonna start with this, even though it's so basic, because I'd rather tell you what's true than just try to give you really sophisticated things. Nothing works without more energy. If you have not made a change you want to make, and you keep saying you want to make it, your energy is not high enough. If you do not have passion in your relationship, it is not because you have 3 kids and 12 soccer practices. It's because you don't have enough energy. If your business is not growing, it's not because you're not smart or you couldn't find the answers because you know you could. It's just you're tired. And after COVID, people have spent a couple of years sitting and not moving. A lot of people have gained weight and they just don't have that energy. And so I want you to think just for a moment about what we can do with it. Because if you think about energy, think about how important it is to every single thing you do. And what is someone with charisma? Someone says that person has charisma. Sometimes they're ugly, they got a big ass nose, but when they sing, it's beautiful, right? You feel the energy. And that's what that charisma is. And we all have it, we have to wake it up. Or reawaken it. It's been wakened, but it's kind of gone to sleep a little bit. And so I want you just for a second, think how simple this is. With more energy, what could you do if you had an energy that was 2, 3, 4-fold what you have right now? What would you do if you were filled with that kind of energy? And the truth is, most people say that'd be really nice, but I just don't have it. So first of all, let's take an example that's simple. Let's forget about business for a second. Let's say a relationship. Let's say there's 2 people, and they're totally deeply in love. They adore each other, they love each other. And they're both in high energy states all the time. They take care of themselves, they're excited about life, they're pushing themselves, they're going for it, and they're totally in love. Is this gonna be an okay relationship, a good relationship, or a magnificent relationship? What would you say? Magnifico, right? True? Now what if you take the same 2 people, and they love each other just as much, but they've let the outside world wear them down a little bit? They've gone through COVID, they've had challenges in the office, there's some cash flow problems with the business, one of the kids is sick, and they get a little tired, a little run down, and they're no longer at peak energy. They still love each other totally, but now their energy is kind of like, you know, good, okay, better than dead. Are these 2 people who love each other totally going to have the same relationship, yes or no? Is this going to be a magnificent relationship, yes or no? No, is it going to have problems? You can guarantee it. But they still love each other. It has nothing to do with the love. Now watch this. What happens if, who's ever been really burnt out? Who's been so burnt out like you snapped at somebody and it wasn't about them and then you felt bad and then you did it again? Who's done this before? Say, If you don't raise your hand, you lie about other shit too, don't you? Come on now. We've all done it. Who's ever been yelled at unfairly? Yelled at? Say, Okay, then I got the victimizers and the victims. That's great, that's wonderful. So the point is, when your energy gets really burnt or low, then that's the danger zone for a relationship. Because when people get really low, they get pissed off easily, they overreact. You react to things that are not even your partner, it's just how you're feeling. And these 2 people love you just as much. Is this relationship going to be magnificent, good, low level, or is there going to be pain in this relationship? Tell me which one. There's no question it's going to be painful. So if you just think about this alone, when you first met somebody, maybe who here is in a relationship right now, committed relationship? Okay, who here is single? If you're single, raise your hand and stand up. Stand up. Stand up so all the other single people can see who you are. All right, they'll just be seeing you soon. Okay, go ahead, have a seat. But if you're in a relationship, in the beginning of that relationship, there was an energy, wasn't there? Right? You brought an energy. That person triggered energy in you and you brought energy. And in the beginning of a relationship, you know, what would you do to make this person happy, to make them feel loved, make them feel free? What would you do? What would you do to make them happy? Tell me, shout it out. What would you do? What? Anything. If they said, take out the trash, I'll take out the trash. Here you go. What else can I do for you? Right? But what happens after 7 days, or 7 weeks, or 7 months, or 70 years, somewhere between 7 days and 70 years? The person goes, could you take out the trash? Go, what do I look like, your janitor? And you go, I don't know what happened. We used to have so much passion. Where'd it go? So your energy affects it. And does it affect your business? Yes or no? Yes. So think about this. If the only way you do well in business, or if you're a leader of any sort, in order to lead, in order to have something grow, you have to manage it. You can't manage something if you don't measure it. The most important factor in your business, we're seeing companies all around the world right now, is the level of engagement. Another word for that is energy. And right now, I don't know if we have this in Mexico yet, but most countries in the world now, millennials and Z generation have a new phrase they've come up with, not all of them, of course, but it's very popular. According to Gallup, the pollster in the US, 50% of people recognize or identify as quiet quitting. Quiet quitting means they're doing the minimum they can possibly do to keep their job. They're not about over-delivering anymore. Now, that wouldn't be anybody in this room. You wouldn't show up here to improve your life if you're one of those people. But they're everywhere. And you know what's interesting? They think they're burnt out from their work. But I did a study with a group where we did 9 weeks with people, and all we did was teach them a few basic time management habits. And we showed them, if you add some things to your life as busy as you think you are, but they're things that are enjoyable, you'll have more energy. If you do nothing and sit around because I'm burnt, your energy gets even lower. See, think about this. An honest answer for this. How many believe energy is the most important base of everything? If you agree with me, say aye. Say aye. Okay, if we agree on that, and we may not all agree, but let's take a look at it. Here's the question. How many have days when you wake up in the morning and your body says, your mind says, let's go get them, but your body says, I can't get out of bed? How many have days when you wake up and you think, I don't want to talk to people today? How many have had days like this? Make some noise out there if you do, ladies and gentlemen. I've had it too, but if I get up and I don't feel like it and I show up here, you're going to feel it. I can't fake that. So you have to be able to shift. If you don't shift, you're not a professional. Have you ever heard a singer who's very famous and they sing a song and they've done it like 10, 20, 30 years and their heart's not in it anymore and you're just like, that song sucks. But then there are other people, like a guy like Elton John, I don't care what kind of music you like, the guy's been a rock and roller for 45 years. And every time he gets up, he sings like it's the first time and you feel it. And how old is the guy, 70? It's unbelievable. That's why he's Elton John. Right? That's what makes you the best at anything. There gotta be days when he wakes up and thinks, if they make me sing that Daniel song one more time, I'm going crazy. But he doesn't, he over-delivers. So you have to measure what you're doing. You gotta see what the source of it is. So think of it this way. Where would you say you live day to day if you're honest? I don't mean in this room with 13,000 people going crazy. Where's your energy on a 0 to 10 scale? 10 is unstoppable energy, and 0 is dead. Where would you put yourself? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where would you put it? Shout it out. Shout it out. How many day to day, you're a 5? Let me see your hands. If you're a 5. How many day to day you're more of a 6? Okay? How many day to day are 7s? Who are 8s? 9s? 10s? Now I want you to notice something really interesting. The only one that made sounds were the 9s and 10s. Did you notice that? Because when we get to a 9 or 10, it's your whole body, including your voice. Fascinating. Now, most of the room are somewhere between 5 and 7. So let's pick the middle and call it 6. All right? So here's my question to you. Would you ever really date a 6? Would you want to do business with someone who's a 6 in their energy? Do you want a 6 person as your leader? If you're a 6 as a parent, you know you're going to do a lousy job. The kid's going to run you, you're not going to be the person leading your kid. So if we don't have the energy to 6, we got to get ourselves to at least 9 or 10. How do you do that? Well, you might want to push yourself to 20 so that 9 or 10 feels like you're relaxing. The contrast, so you go, there is no 20 on a 0 to 10. See how limited your thinking is, right? But I want you to think about this first. If you don't have the energy, where does it come from? So if we needed more energy, how many think more energy would make a difference in your life? No question. Say aye if it's true. Say aye. Great, and where does energy come from? Someone tell me, where does energy come from? Okay, this person says food. Food. Food? Hang on, I want to have this one first. Food, this person says, food. How many of you can remember a time when you had a big feast, a holiday feast? And when you go have that holiday feast, what do you usually do? You go, it's a holiday, it's a feast, I'm gonna take care of my body, eat lots of broccoli. No, that's not what you do. How much do you eat when you go to a holiday feast? How much do you eat? Everything you can possibly contain and then some. And at the end, what do? You go, I'll never eat again. And then someone goes, pumpkin pie? You go, okay. Right? But at the end of that meal, do you feel like going for a run? Do you feel like playing football? What do you feel like doing? What do you feel like doing? Come on. That's right, take an old nap. Because the way most people eat actually lowers their energy. That's why after lunch, people usually have a drop as well, right? And they're looking for the coffee to try and get it going, which then overstimulates a part of your body. And after a while, it doesn't give you much help anymore. So you gotta be careful. So it's not food, don't get me wrong. How many of you have ever gone on a fast where you didn't eat for 3 or 4 days or more? Who's done this before? So yell it out. Do you get more energy as the days go by when you don't eat or less? Which one? Way more energy. Well, how come food is supposed to be a source of energy? It is a source of energy, it's not the source. Make sense? Someone I heard said sleep. Who here has ever slept 8 hours and you were still tired? Who's had this experience? Say aye. Who here has been so exhausted that no sleep, but boom, something happened and you were awake all night? Who's had that experience? Say aye. You're about to have another one. Stand up if you would. Shake your body out, shake it up. Now, before we do anything else then, we're gonna make sure you know you can change your energy in a heartbeat, in a snap. Because energy is not from sleep, it's not from food, you're gonna have no sleep, no food, and something excites you, and you're gonna have energy. How many follow here? Say aye. So energy is actually a habit. But I wanna show you what you do. It's very simple. The greatest energy comes from human emotion. Emotion is what moves the world. Emotion is what starts a war. And a different set of emotions creates peace. Emotion is what gets you laid, Jenny. Emotion is how you end up having children, how you get married. Emotion controls everything in our life. We love to believe it's our intellect. But how many of you found you can justify anything you want if you want it bad enough? How many found this to be true? Right? So emotion is the game. And emotion is motion, energy and motion. Your energy changes by the way you move, by the way you breathe, and most people are unaware of it. You have 37 different muscles in your face. For most people, this is the area of most unemployment in the whole country. They use the same face every day. They don't have any change, and so they feel the same emotions every day. So what I want you to try is something simple. I want you to see on demand you can create that energy, and it just becomes a habit. So here's what we're gonna do. I want you to point at somebody near you. Point at somebody near you and go, I own you. I own you. No, say it nice and loud. I own you. No, I own you. Now, do we have any competitive people in the house? Any competitive people out there? Good, then I'm talking to the right group. By the way, the word competition in Latin, it's an original Latin root, means to compete, means to conspire together. So if I was going to play basketball with you, I want you to push me as hard as you can. Because by you pushing me hard, I'm going to get better. We conspire. I'm going to push you hard, so you get better. We conspire to make each other better. So we're going to do a little competition. So when you go, I own you to a stranger, that means I challenge you, you low energy person. I am going to outdo your energy because you've got really low energy. And what we're going to do then is, we're going to count 1, we're going to clap together 1, we're going to keep clapping 2, and when I say 3, your job is to explode with energy like a little kid, not like a boring adult. Yay, yay. You're like, yeah, oh my God! Like people do when their sports team wins a national championship, like you had the greatest orgasm of your life, like you just achieved your greatest goal. I mean jumping and using your voice. In fact, start with your voice. Make a sound right now of excitement. Really enjoy it. Go! In your body in a few seconds just by the sound, right? So we're going to use sound and movement. So find somebody you compete with, point at somebody nearby and go, I own you, baby. No, I own you. No, I own you. All right, on three, let's clap together. One. On three, use your body and your voice. Two, go. Three, go. Now in your energy. Who's at a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2. I want you to see how fast can you change your energy. And the more you do it, the more it feels good. In the beginning, you might feel weird. Oh, this is a positive thing, let me jump up and down and shit, right? But that's not why we're doing it. It has a biochemical effect on you. Every time you go into this celebratory state, you're literally changing your entire biochemistry. You know, they take monkeys in a place called UC Irvine, University of California, Irvine. I don't support this, but here's what they do. They take 4 of the fingers down, and then they manually bend this finger 10,000 times. Go ahead and do this with your finger. Now, how are you doing that? You go, I'm just thinking it to it. True, but how you really do it is when you think the thought, you create connections between neurons. It's a big word, it just means nerve cells in the brain. So to do this, imagine you're connecting this cell and this cell, and you grow a string of connection. Do it twice, 2 strings. Do it 10,000 times, and you're wired. So guess what they do after doing this? They untake the monkey's fingers, and what does the monkey do? For no reason. So what? I'm not a monkey, I'm standing here, what's your point? Here's my point. How many have a way of going to work, or to the grocery store, or something, where you go the same streets, you get off the same off-ramp, you do the same buses, the same over and over again, and one day you're supposed to go a different direction, but you're not thinking, or you're on your cell phone, and you get right off on off-ramp. Who's done this before? Say, You're monkeys, right? You've been trained. Now here's what's interesting. You don't have to do this 10,000 times, they discovered. They did experiments where they could bend this finger 3 dozen times, 36 times, and get the same result as 10,000 if they changed one thing. If when they bent the finger, they stimulated the pleasure center of the brain. They literally stimulated it. So it's like, and what happened, instead of 1 string of connection, they got 100, 500. So today, even though I'm only with you for 3 hours, if you will push yourself, like if you just sit on your butt, you won't remember much. Research shows, by the way, if you sit and listen passively, 30 days from now you remember less than 10% of what I said, which means I wasted your day and you wasted your day. Who came here to make some nice changes, some real shifts in your life and say, If you want to do that, you want to be active. That's why I'm asking you all the answer. Because when you're passive and you learn, you can be enjoying yourself. You can be sitting in your chair going, this is great, I'm glad he came to Mexico, and damn, he has big teeth, and whatever else you notice, right? And then after a while, you go, okay, this is good, this is really good, but later on when you go to do it, you're gonna have that same energy. This is good, I should do it. But if you learn in a dynamic way, you will do it when you leave here. And that's what we're gonna do. Who's willing to push yourself for a few hours here? Say, I want you to face a partner, do it one more time, outdo them. I own you! I own you! On 3, 1, outdo them with your energy. 1, 2, dos, tres, go! You're amazing. So am I. Give a high five and grab a seat. Grab a seat feeling great. Take a sip of water if you got it. Stay hydrated. Just your typical business seminars you can already feel, right? A little sip of water. And then, most people when they sit down, their energy disappears. Watch when some people go, they're like, yeah. They're like, oh, I'm so glad that's over. Oh my gosh. Now we get to learn seminar and stuff. So in your chair, create more energy sitting than when you're standing. Use your voice, use your body. Go, wake your body up, wake up your body. If you feel better than before, make a fist and say yes. So how fast can we change our energy? How fast, my friends? How fast? In a heartbeat. And if you do it over and over, after a while, it won't feel weird. It'll feel natural. You'll want it. And if you walk in with this kind of energy and you're in business and someone says, I don't know, or you're in a relationship, and you walk in and you go, maybe we need some time apart. You'll just walk out in the middle of the street and yell, next! Right? You know what's coming. You've got the energy to bring it about. It's a different world. Now, so I was obsessed. I'm here today because I've been obsessed for 45 years. I've been doing this 45 years. I started when I was 3, clearly, obviously. And in those 45 years, I've been obsessed with the answer to a question, and the question is, what makes the difference in people's lives? Why do so many people who have been given everything, lots of love, lots of joy, great education, maybe great economics, and they spend their life going in and out of rehab? And then there are other people that life has treated so unfairly. They've had poverty they're grown in, or great challenges, or abuse in the family, no education, and yet somehow it develops a hunger in some of those people that makes them grow and give, become the very people that most of us know the name of, because they overcame so much. The one common denominator I found in successful people all over the earth, the most successful people, is not intelligence, even though intelligence is such a valuable asset. I love wickedly smart people. But how many know some smart people that can't fight their way out of a paper bag day to day, right? So what's more important is what you have, and that's why I'm here. I came because I know for you to fly from all over, or here from Mexico, but many of you come from all over the country, all over South America, Colombia, all over, I know. That means you already have the most important ingredient with no BS, hunger. If you are hungry and you don't lose your hunger, see, most people are hungry to like lose weight to get to the party and then they go back. Or they're hungry to grow their business to a certain level and they get comfortable and then they stop growing. But the most successful people, the Oprahs of the world, went through hell, but you stayed hungry, kept building, kept growing. You know, you look at Virgin, the company Virgin, and you look at Sir Richard Branson. I know Richard, he's as driven today, and is 68, I think years old now, almost 70, right? As he was when he was like 13 starting the company. So if you can flame the flames of hunger, which you can't do without energy, if the energy's high and the hunger, your desire keeps growing, you can get through any obstacle you can imagine. But what I began to do in the beginning, I grew up really poor. I had 4 different fathers. When I met my 4th father, I said, Mom, I'm confused. Right? And I was not a popular kid in high school. I loved people, but I wasn't into the in crowd or anything like that. And so I couldn't understand why, like, the most popular kid in school treated me and my friends like dirt. And it made me want to understand what makes people be the way they are. And it made me a practical psychologist. Like, I began to really study what makes people do what they do. And after a while, I began to realize it has nothing to do with your background. Biography is not destiny. If you look at the history of the world, I give you the history like this. Good times create weak people. When countries have really good times, the people become weak. We're seeing it right now in America. More than I've ever seen in my lifetime. I'm 62 years old. Guess what? Good times create weak people create bad times. This is the history of the world. You can look at this in Rome. You can look at this in any country you want. Bad times create strong people. And strong people create great times. That's the history of the world, but it's also your history and my history. Because those tough times can produce hunger in you. See, it might disappoint you, but you have to discipline your disappointment. Disappointment either destroys you or drives you. You must choose. If you let it destroy you, because you can point to all the excuses outside yourself, all the unfair, all the injustices. Injustice has always been with us and always will be, because humanity isn't always just. But it's beautiful and it's great, and you can overcome any obstacle and you can create life on your terms. If you're unreasonable in your expectations of yourself, not unreasonable in your expectations of others. If you can demand more from yourself than anyone else can expect, you won't compete with other people, you're competing with who you become, and you keep becoming more and more and more. So the pattern I learned is I thought we're in this situation because, you know, we're poor, we don't have enough money for food, and I was feeling sorry for myself. And we lived in a community where I thought these people were rich, they were lower middle class, they're just rich compared to us. And I remember at the time, like, saying, well, they have like nice jeans and they're not torn. Now you buy torn jeans for some reason, it's a different thing, right? You pay extra for that shit. But the bottom line is like, you know, they're doing so great, why are our families not doing well? And what changed my life was I began to realize the same pattern that the most successful people have been through more. I started reading biographies and autobiographies. I took a speed reading class and I said, I'm going to read a book a day. I didn't do that. But I read about 700 books in 7 years, all in the area of psychology, physiology, anything to improve your life, and autobiographies. And what I began to see is the most successful people usually have the most challenging times. But they didn't let it stop them. And so I started to change my psychology. And then one day I met a man named Jim Rohn. Have any of you ever heard of Jim Rohn, personal development speaker? I was 17 years old. I made this giant decision to go to a seminar. I didn't know what a seminar was, but I met a man who had become very successful, and he said this seminar helped him. And I was working, making $40 a week as a janitor, and the seminar was $35. It'd be like $350 today for 3 hours. And I went, and I got so inspired by this man. And then I wanted to go to work for him. He goes, well, you can't work for me until you've been through all my programs. Well, his programs, you know, at that time, to give you a perspective, like a 3-day weekend with him, where he's going to teach you various great skills, time management, and so forth. That was, you know, $1,200, which would be like $15,000 in today's dollars, right? And I was sleeping in my car because my mom had kicked my dad out, and then she thought I was on his side, so she kicked me out. I had an old 1960 Volkswagen. I had a trench coat I got, and I was sleeping in there, and he wants $12,000. But I figured out that I would never have the life I want unless I really found the answers he'd be teaching. So I went to bank after bank after bank, got really good at knowing when they're going to say no, like when I walked in the room, right? But I finally got people to loan the money. I went to it because it was so expensive. Like a lot of people just put on the credit card. I never left the room. The guy said, "Bill," I wrote down Bill. I wrote down every word he said. I didn't pee, I didn't do anything. I did it all. And because I spent so much, I was so vested, I went after it. And one day I went to work for him. And he gave me an answer that was transformative in my life. And here was that. I asked him, I said, all four of my fathers were good people. Hang on, all four of my fathers were really good people. They worked hard, but we were always broke. We had no money for food. Now today, I feed 100,000 meals a year in America for people who need it every single year. And I feed them a meal. I appreciate the acknowledgement, but I want you to know I don't do that because I'm so great. I do that because I grew up when we had no food, and someone at Thanksgiving fed my family. And I never forgot, so I fed 2 families, and then 4, and then 8. And eventually, for the last 7 years, I said I was going to feed 100,000 meals a year for 10 years, 1 billion people. We're at 919 million. We're going to hit 1 billion this next February. And I'm now starting, I flew all night to be with you because I was at the Forbes philanthropy dinner. It's the biggest philanthropist in the world. And I challenged them. I said, I came up with 1 billion meals. I need 100 other people to do it so we feed people all over the earth, including Mexico. And I got 5 billion meals just last night before I made it here in the middle of the night to fly here. So I'm but the reason I tell you this is, thank you so much. The reason I tell you this, please have a seat just for a moment. The reason I tell you this is that when I went to work for Jim Rohn, he taught me a lesson that was so important. I said, all my dads worked hard, they cared, why were we always broke? And he said, Tony, we're all equal as souls in the world, but we're not equal in the marketplace. I said, what does that mean? He said, well, you're upset because a teacher is not making as much money as like a banker. I said, yes, that's not fair. He goes, Tony, well, think of it this way. If you work at McDonald's, there's no disrespect, but it's a starter job. And it pays starter job wages, really ridiculously low wages. Because anyone can do that job within about 10 minutes or an hour of training. So pretty soon there's going to be robots doing it, or self-serve. It already is in a lot of places. So that job is not valuable. He said, you must become more valuable and you will earn more. You have to learn how to do more for others than anybody else, but before you can do that, you have to develop the skills and the talents and the abilities. He said, give me an example that upsets you. I said, well, this man made $2 billion in a hedge fund, and his teacher made $40,000. He said, you know what? The teacher picks a job that isn't highly rewarded, but here's the problem. Teachers are not paid on performance. They don't want to be paid on performance. They want to pay for how many years they're there. And that's why most schools don't deliver great students. There are some great teachers out there, but they're not the majority, unfortunately. And he said, and she's working with 30 students, and this man who made $2 billion took people's money from nonprofits, from people's retirement accounts, and returned 40%, not 3% or 4%. 3 or 4 or 5% will take them 15, 20 years to double. They can double their money in 2 years with him. He's worth $2 billion. How many follow this? Say ah. So he taught me the principle that I want to plant in your seed in your mind today. Your income, could you make twice as much money in the same amount of time? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Could you make 5 times as much money in the same amount of time? Yes or no?
Yes.
10 times as much money in the same amount of time? Yes or no?
Yes.
But only if you find a way to become more valuable. Only if you can find in your business how to do more for others than anybody else in your industry. And you build to that, but it requires building on you. So what I began to see, and this is what I want you to understand, is there are patterns that determine whether you succeed or fail. Failure isn't one big thing that happens usually. It's failure to say thank you. It's failure to follow up. It's failure to make the call. It's failure, all those little things that makes failure happen. And success is not one giant thing that suddenly happens. Looks like somebody's an overnight success, but you don't see what they've been doing behind the scenes. Most people are rewarded in public for what they practiced over and over and over again in private. How many of you know who Michael Jordan is? Do you know who Michael Jordan is? So Michael's a friend of mine, and Michael would work out literally 6 days a week, even in his off season. Get up at 5 a.m. and twice a day make 1,000 shots before he'd stop. That's why he's Michael Jordan. Somebody else practices for an hour. So if you want anything on this earth and you convert your hunger into action, you just need to figure out what's the right pattern. And when you know the right patterns, you can do just about anything. So when I started learning these patterns, I became more successful in my business, I transformed my body, I transformed my relationships, and then I started helping my friends, and then it grew into a business, and then it grew into me working with leaders of countries, and all of a sudden now, sports teams, and it's grown. And now, personally, I took all those patterns, and I started studying business. So now I have 110 companies, we do $7 billion in sales, and I have no business background. Across massive different industries, just because I realized success leaves clues. If someone is successful at something over and over again, they're not lucky. They're just doing something different than you. If you do the same thing, if you sow the same seeds in the same way, you will get the same rewards. It's that simple. And you've had people, 20 speakers here? And, Ricardo over here, this is one of, I believe, the second wealthiest man in this country. He started selling door-to-door honey, right? His family did well, but they also started at the base. His family understood the importance of getting him to understand hard work and what it takes. So there are patterns that are working, and when I understood these patterns, I started then getting phone calls. Suddenly, I get the phone call from the athlete who's burning down, and I'll turn him around right now. Serena Williams calls, and this is years ago when her sister was killed, and she couldn't get on the court, and I got to turn around right now. Or a child is suicidal, or an adult. And knock on wood, I've never lost one child out of thousands. In fact, how many of you have seen my documentary on Netflix called 20 Robbins, I'm Not Your Guru? So you probably saw me work with a couple of suicidal people. There was a young lady there who was in those who saw it, who was in a group that basically forced children to have sex with adults. It's horrific. She got out of that group, by the way. I went down to see her in Brazil, and she now has gotten 10 other people out of it. She's now a therapist, she's got a beautiful life. So the reason I'm able to do this is I recognize patterns. If someone's willing to kill themselves, there's a reason. And here's what it is. They think dying is less painful than living. If you can reverse that, which you can, they're never going to take their life. Learning how to change the basic conditioning is what I want to try and introduce you today. And some of you, I hope you'll decide to join me for 4 days, because you may not have to leave Mexico now. Now I do them digitally as well. So I'm not selling you, but I'd love to give you more. But I'm not going to hold back during these 3 hours. But I want you to understand it's all patterns. The patterns are what helped me when I get a call from the President of the United States. He says, Tony, I'm 32 at the time. And he says, there's President Clinton. He says, Tony, they're going to impeach me in the morning. What should I do? And my first answer was, could you call me sooner? It's tomorrow morning, right? But then I had to figure out what to do. So over the years, I've discovered what patterns work. And I'm going to show you several today. We're not just going to show you, we're going to do them so you can feel them in your body. And you go, okay, I like this pattern. I don't like them all. This one really works for me. Because my goal is for you to leave here and have the ability to increase all the things you talked about. Your business, your emotions, your joy, your happiness, your relationships, your body. And how can I promise all those? Well, in 4 days I can, but I can promise you the ability to do that if you learn to manage this and this. If you manage your energy and your emotion, you can get yourself to lose weight. You can get yourself to do the business. You can break through and get the capital you need. How many follow what I'm talking about here? Say ah! So we want to develop some patterns to do that. So let's start with the most important pattern of all if you're going to be a leader. Let me ask you a question. What makes somebody a leader? My answer to that is simple. A leader has the ability to influence the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of another person. If you're a leader, you're able to influence people. That's your job. And ideally, if you're a great leader, you lead them to do something that's good for them and good for society, not good for you. Well, some people are negative leaders. You have to know, but they can't influence people. Some people get people to drink Kool-Aid and kill themselves. So a lot of people are afraid of someone of great influence. But it has to do with their character, and more importantly, your ability to learn how to influence. I have a question for you. Who do you have to influence first if you're going to be successful in business or in life or anything else? Who do you got to influence first? Who do you got to influence first? Yourself. It's the most important influence of all. Whether you're fit or fat is going to influence your own hands, right? It's not that big a deal. Whether the kid on the street corner gets your kid with cocaine or not has to do with what? Who has more influence, you or the guy on the street corner? So it's the most important skill. So I'm going to start out here, as long as your energy's high, by showing you how to influence, because there's 2 things that influence everyone on earth. In order to do that though, let's stand up. Stand up just for a moment here, shake your body up just for a second. Shake it out, shake it out. Keep your energy nice and strong. And here's what I want you to do. Take a nice huge deep breath in, huge deep breath in. Exhale and moan, go ahead. Take another huge deep breath in. And then make it a sexual moan, you'll enjoy it moan. Make it a sexual moan, go ahead. Wow, that was much longer than it was. That was great. Now, shake your body out, shake your body out. And so I want to show you what influences everyone. There are two things. Everyone's unique. By the way, let's jot this down in your mind, or if you're standing, don't sit down to write it down, but if you're standing, you want to write down, you can. Write down this. We know we got to influence ourselves first, right? But here's what else you have to remember. To influence another human being, you have to know what already influences them. I'm going to say that again. To influence another human being, that's what makes you a leader in business, in life, in sports, in your own body. To influence another human being, you have to know what already influences them. So if you're trying to influence your kid to clean their room and they don't do it, you're a crappy influencer. But you know why? You're probably trying to get them to clean their room the way that would work for you. See, we're all good at influencing people who are like whom? Ourselves. But we think the other people are just messed up. So I want to show you, you got to influence people who aren't like you. How are you going to do that? Two things influence us all. The number one thing that influences people moment to moment is the state that you're in. The mental, emotional state. In other words, in simple terms, if you're really pissed off and angry, you're going to probably make different decisions and behave differently than if you're feeling really playful or grateful. How many follow? Say ah. And so what most people do is they try to influence people, but they don't notice what state they're in. Some people are in an absolute no state. If you don't change your state, it doesn't matter what you say, they're not going to change. And who's had an experience like this, where you talk to somebody and they seem immovable, even though it may have been for their advantage, right? So we're going to show you how to change state. In order to influence others, you got to influence yourself first. So we're going to start with changing our state. I'm going to show you how to do it in seconds. And it's proven, it's science, it's not some pump up BS, it works, and we'll test it, you will experience it. Long term, what influences us, like, can somebody, by the way, can a mean person be nice? Yes or no? Can a nice person be mean? Yes, depending on what state they get in, right? But if you put the right person in the right state, you can help them change. Long term, what shapes us is called our blueprint. Our blueprint just means we all have a set of beliefs, a set of things we've learned to value, a set of expectations. And you might have expectations about how people should treat you, and if they don't, you're upset. Or you have expectations how you should be with others. And if you don't do it, you're upset with yourself, right? But some of our blueprints are out of date. Some of our blueprints are like in the early days before Google, there used to be this company that used to give maps. And people would try the map and you always got lost because it was out of date, right? So we want to update our map. Today we're going to spend most of our focus on your state. So let's try something. Shake your body out, shake it out, and let's do a little test. This will tell me a little bit about your blueprint and your state. So I want you to take your hands like this, and when I say now, bring them together like this. When I say now. Okay, ready?
Ready?
Go! Ready? You got some people anticipating that, they must be entrepreneurs. Go! Ready? Go! Ready? Go! Ready? Go! Ready? Go! Keep your hands together. Now, extensive research over 35 years around the earth has shown me something. No matter how many times you pull your hands apart and bring them together, if I don't mention it, you'll always put the same thumb on top. Let's try it. Ready? Go! And notice which one it is. Okay. Now, ready? Switch thumbs, go! Why you got that look on your face? How many does it feel weird to switch thumbs though? It feels weird to you. If it feels weird to change thumbs, no matter changing your life! Right? Go back to the old way and watch how easy it is. Ready, the old way. Ready, go! Ready, go! Ready, go! Look at you smiling. I'm good at this shit. I can do it. Now, take a look and notice. If your left thumb is on top of your right thumb, it tells me a huge amount about your personal psychology. It means if your left thumb's on top of your right, it means you have an enormous drive for sex and you're an incredible lover. this man change thumbs. I saw you change thumbs, sir. I saw you. Now, here's the good news. If your right thumb is on top, then it means you're extremely intelligent and you will be financially free in your lifetime, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this poor man. This poor man, he's having a thumb fight going about the sex of the money. If your thumbs don't cross, and they're just parallel like this, side by side, it means you think you're sexy and successful, but you'll never be any of the above. That's just how it works. Now, I'm just making sure you're right. Now, shake your body up. And we're going to do a little test. Emotion drives us. What influences people most? Is it what you say? Is it how you say it? Or is it the state you're in when you say it? Which one of the three? The state you're in. So I want you to do an experiment, because most of us are unaware of the fact that whatever you're feeling is driven by the way you're using your body. You're unaware, like little changes in your face, little changes in your breathing, your shoulders, the way you move. So I want you to do a little experiment. Now for this to work, you gotta be like a little kid. If you're a boring adult, you're like, why are we doing this, right? So you gotta go for it. But here's what we're gonna do. When I say now, I'm gonna ask you to walk around, introduce yourself to as many people as possible, but wait, I want you to do it in a very specific state. I want you to introduce yourself to people as if you felt like talking to them was a complete waste of your time. Right? So let me do an example. Let me show you. Can I borrow you, sir? Can I borrow you? Come on up. Give him a hand. Now, if you're going to meet somebody and you're thinking it's a total waste of your time, how are you going to do to go? What's your name? Mark? Where are you from? Mexico. Get out of here. Give it up for Mark, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to deliberately greet people as if it's a waste of time, and I want you to notice though. Let's don't waste your time. Do you go straight for them or do you hesitate? What's the look on your face? Do you move slow or more rapid? Do you talk loud or more quiet? Is there tension in your body when it's a waste of your time? I want you to notice your body do it. Get to 2 or 3 people. Introduce yourself like it's a waste of your time. Go. When you went to greet someone and it was a waste of your time, did you go straight towards them or did you hesitate? Which one? Hesitate. Did you talk loud or quiet? Fast or slow? Did you touch them? Barely? Yes. What was the look on your face? Were you breathing full or more shallow? Now, if you listen to people, and I'm speaking in English, so I know there's translation going on timing. By the way, I want to thank our translators. Can we give them a big hand for making this possible? I want you to notice, at least speaking back in English, almost all were saying the same things. I didn't tell you to do those things to your body. I just told you to make it a waste of your time, and yet you all did the same thing with your body. Because in order to feel that way, you have to use your body that way. So let's experiment. Let's do a totally different state. Shake your body out of that state. Shake it out. And this time, when you go to greet people this time, I want you to greet them as if you were deathly afraid they were going to reject you. Now, I know you've never had any rejection in your life. But who here has ever not done something because you're afraid of being rejected or failing? Who's put something off or not done it? Say I. When you're a kid, you show it when you're afraid. Oh my God, I'm scared. When you're young, you learn to hide it. How's it going? Are you stressed? No, I'm not stressed, I'm fine. What I want you to do is when you greet people, I want you to exaggerate the fear so you'll see what you're doing on a more subtle level day to day. So let me do an example here. Can I borrow you, man? Can I borrow you? So if you're going to go here and you're deathly afraid of being rejected, and you're like a little kid, not an adult, you're not going to hide it. So you're going to go, what's your name? Lorena? You're intense, Lorena. Where are you from, Lorena? Monterrey. Well, that's a beautiful part of Mexico. That's a very beautiful part of Mexico. Okay, well, give it up for Lorena! So here's what I want you to do. I want you to exaggerate, you see what I mean? Because then you'll notice what you're doing on a more subtle level day to day as an adult. And once you know what you do, you can change it. You can change it in seconds, and you'll take yourself out of fear. But for example, have any of you watched the Winter Olympics on television before? Like this Winter Olympics, snowing, skiing, that type of thing? Have you ever found yourself at home and you're sitting in your chair and you're watching someone skiing or snowboarding in the Olympics and you feel yourself do this? Who knows what I'm talking about here? I want you to exaggerate that so you notice it. So when I say now, read 3 or 4 people, but like you're deathly afraid they're going to reject you, and notice what you do different with your face, your voice, your body, your breath. All right? Ready? Go, go, go. Read people like you're deathly afraid they're going to reject you. The same or differently to be in a state of fear? Which one? Differently. Did you go straight for them or hesitate more? What? Did you talk loud or quiet? Fast or slow? Were you breathing more shallow or more full than the other one? More shallow, right? So notice, in order to be fearful, you got to use your body a certain way, very different than for a waste of time. Now this time I want you to greet people one different way. This time I want you to greet them as if they don't like you in the first 3 to 5 seconds of meeting you, then you will not do business with them. And if you don't do business with them, your children are not going to eat next week. In other words, if they don't like you in the first 3 to 5 seconds of meeting you, everyone you care about dies like pigs in hell. If you knew they had to like you or everyone you love would die, I bet you use your body differently, wouldn't you? How many think it would be very different? All right? So, and by the way, do people judge people in the first 3 to 5 seconds of meeting them? They do. So your job is make sure they like you in the first 3 to 5 seconds. Get to 3 or 4 people. Ready? Go, go, go! Yes. Did you talk louder or quieter? Faster or slower? Shallow breath or full breath? Did you touch him? Did it feel good? Why? Well, you should have seen what touched. No. Because emotion is created by motion. So when you use more of what God has given you, you experience more of what God gave you, which is those emotions inside that come from movement. Now we're going to take it up one more level. One more level? Yes. This time I want you to greet people as if they were your long-lost lover or best friend. You're just seeing for the first time in years. You're so excited. Oh my God, it's Mary Sue Booth. I see her. Oh my God, I haven't seen her in years. Here we go. How are you? Oh my God. Wow. I want you to greet people like your greatest lover and best friend. Go, 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 go! Energy. More muscles in the face or less muscles in the face? More breath or less breath? Did you talk loud or quiet? Fast or slow? Did you hesitate or go straight forward? Did you touch them? Did you feel good? Why? Because emotion is created by emotion. How many feel much better right now than before? Say ah! You say, Tony, what am I supposed to do? Go to the president of Microsoft and go, Charlie! I bet it'll change your state. Actually, once you turn the state on in you, even if you show part of it, people can feel there's more there. So now, you've seen the differences in how you use your body changes the way you feel. So let's take it up a different notch, not a greeting notch. How many of you in this stadium here would like to have more excitement, more passion, more ecstasy than ever before? Make some noise if you really would like that, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want more joy, you have to do joy. If you want more energy, you have to do that energy. If you want more excitement, you have to do excitement. If you want more ecstasy, you got to do ecstasy. Not do ecstasy that way, sorry. So, in other words, it's in you. Can you have a great victory in your life, something really successful happen, and then go, oh, that was great? How many of you play down some of your victories so you don't upset other people not doing as well? How many do this? Let me ask you a question. By you playing small, does that make them bigger? Does that help them grow? Does that make them more happy? And what does it do to you? It teaches you. Don't ever be too happy or excited. So even when you succeed, you train your nervous system not to feel that great. So I'd like to have you try something new. What if you celebrated with all your soul and you didn't need a reason to totally celebrate? Like out of your mind, the joy and excitement. No, Tony, that's absurd. That's like positive thinking bullshit. Really? Well, that's dumb. Why would you be happy for no reason? Well, how many have a lot of things you could be happy about if you focused on them? Your health, your family, your friends, your love. Who's got a lot of things you could be happy about? Say I. But if you think it's weird to be happy for no reason, think about this. Most people get unhappy for no reason. How's it going? Feel like crap. How come? Woke up. That's some people's lives. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Let's pretend you're a little kid again. Did you ever watch a little kid walk through the living room and they're just walking casually like this, they're just walking along, and all of a sudden they go, whoa! And they walk off like nothing happened. Who's ever had a kid like that or been a kid like that at one point, ladies and gentlemen? You know how old someone is. Hear me now. You know how old someone is by the way they move, don't you? In fact, no movement's called death. The more you move, the more alive you're going to be. So what we're going to do is really simple. In a moment, we're going to celebrate for no reason. Again, how many of lots of reasons you could celebrate if you wanted to, right? But we don't need a reason. You're going to jump and celebrate as if the level you would if your local sports team won a national championship, if you had the best goal you achieved, if everything went your way. Because by the way, what do people do when their sports team wins? If a local sports team wins, what do people do? All of them. What do they do? Show me what they do. What do they do? Where are you now, 0 to 10? Who's 11 or above right now, ladies and gentlemen? I have a question. Could you, by doing a habit over and over again, could you, by being in a habit of being pissed off, find yourself pissed off all the time? Can you develop a habit of being worried, and then you're worried all the time? Right? Could you develop a habit of being passionate, and you're passionate all the time? Or certain, or driven. We can literally train ourselves to be whatever we want, but most of us let the world train us. We let the environment trigger us. There's two worlds to master. The inner world and the outer world. Which one's more powerful? Inner world. Could all hell be breaking loose around you and you be in this incredibly centered place, enjoying everything, all hell's breaking loose? Is that possible? Yes, it is. But you and I live in a Western culture where if you sit and bliss out, people come and take your furniture, right? So we also need to master the external world. Both is what gives us power. So I want you to realize you can change this fast. This is how fast you can change your state. Right now, just as you're standing there, go from a standing to a state of total excitement go in your body right now, whatever it takes, go for it. Let me hear the sound.